All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Inshallah, right now we're going to continue and actually talk about the Duha prayer. When you talk about Duha is basically the time that is after Fajr, but it is basically, let's say almost 20 to half an hour after sunrise. Okay, not before, because while the sun is rising, it's actually makruh to pray in unless some scholars considered you missed your fajr and you needed to pray basically that fajr that you had missed, and that even if it was during the time of makruh, for the time that it's hated to pray in, that it would still be permissible to pray in according to some scholars, which is actually the preponderant. So if a person missed their fajr and then they woke up while the sun was rising, make your wudu and pray even if the sun was actually rising. Why? Because your obligatory prayer comes prior to basically avoiding what is makruh. Okay, so after the sun rises by almost 20 minutes, half an hour, that's when Salat al-Duha would be done on. So what are we looking at? When is the last time? The last time for Salat al-Duha would be when the sun is basically in the middle of the sky. How do I know if it's in the middle of the sky? You would look outside your window. If the shadow basically was not there, or the shadow was the size of whatever you are seeing, that actually means that the sun is in the middle of the sky, and it would not be Fajr till the sun starts tilting the shadow, and you could see that the shadow was the size of the person or the tree or whatever the actual object was, or if it's double. Okay, that's when you would know it's Dhuhr time. Okay, a number of different hadith were mentioned in regards to Salat al-Duha, and the most important thing, and my favorite, is this quote. The quote, Abu Hurairah had said, أوصاني خليلي صلى الله عليه وسلم بثلاث بصيام 3 أيام من كل شهر وركعتي الضحى وأن أوتر قبل أن أرقد. He said, my friend, just imagine, he said, my friend advised me to do 3 things. And he was talking about the Prophet ﷺ, to do 3 things, and I shall not leave them until I die. And they are to fast 3 days every month, to perform duha prayer, and to perform witr before sleeping. Okay, so that's basically right there. You could see muttafaqun alayh, meaning it was narrated by Bukhari and Muslim, and therefore the highest level of authentic hadith. In another hadith, Abu Sa'id used to say that the Prophet ﷺ used to pray duha to the point that they would feel that the Prophet ﷺ never left it. And sometimes he would avoid it, or at least leave it entirely, to the point that they had thought, oh, he stopped praying this. Okay, so what is that supposed to tell us? That it wasn't necessarily a consistent behavior. Sometimes it's a consistent behavior of working on it, and sometimes it's a consistent behavior of not necessarily working on it. Okay, the shortest numbers of rak'ahs that you can pray duha is not 1, but it's actually 2. Okay, that's the shortest. We're going to get to the longest in just a bit. What's the evidence? The evidence is the hadith that was narrated by Anas ibn Malik, that the Prophet ﷺ had said, من قعد في مصلاه حين ينصرف من الصبح حتى يسبح ركعتي الفجر لا يقول إلا خيرا غفرت له خطاياه وإن كانت أكثر من زبد البحر. That the Prophet ﷺ used to perform duha so regularly. Oh, actually, this one. That the Prophet ﷺ had said, if anyone sits in his place of prayer after finishing subh morning, well, basically morning prayer, And then he basically waits, in other words, until he performs the 2 rak'ahs of duha and saying nothing but what is good, that his sins would basically be forgiven, even if they're more than the foam of the sea. Okay, so that's another hadith. In other words, what is the recommended discipline is that you would pray Fajr in the masjid, or even if it's musalla, is it in the masjid or is it in the area that you're praying your Fajr in? It can mean actually both. Okay, so if it's the designated area that we're talking about for prayer, and then you stayed sitting up or at least sitting down after Fajr. So you said, Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah, Salaam alaikum wa rahmatullah. You didn't get up, you basically stayed in your place. You either read Quran, or you probably did your dhikr, or you probably made your dua. You didn't get up, and even though the sun had basically risen, but you did not get up to just go home, you basically got up to pray the 2 rak'ahs of duha. The Prophet ﷺ said that your sins would all be forgiven, even if it was as much as the foam that you would see over the sea. Okay, the most rak'ahs that you could pray for Salat al-Duha is basically 8 rak'ahs. That's the most. What's the evidence? Hani. Hani narrated that the Prophet ﷺ used to pray 8 rak'ahs subhat al-duha. Subhat al-duha, kind of like a recommended or a non-obligatory thing that the Prophet ﷺ would do during that time. Sayyida Aisha had also narrated كان يصلي الضحى 4 ركعات ويزيد ما يشاء, that the Prophet ﷺ would pray duha 4 rak'ahs and add as much as he wanted to. And certainly we talked about the timing for Salat al-Duha. Any questions in regards to Salat al-Duha?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
Assalamu
assalam.
alaikum. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, dear.
Okay. My question is about this hadith of if we stay after Fajr. Do we have to like wake up at the beginning of Fajr or any time in the Fajr time and then stay
So,
until Duha?
right. So when can you say the question again, dear?
Yes, so to like in order to like receive the reward of staying up until the sun has risen, or I don't know how to say it in English, sorry. Like at Fajr, like let's say I wake up at Fajr, I pray my Fajr, I stay in my musalla, I do my dhikr, I wait for the sunrise totally, and then I pray the 2 rak'ahs of duha in order to get the reward. Would I have to be awake from the beginning of Fajr or any time in the
No, you
time
don't
of
have
Fajr?
to. Anytime after you pray Fajr.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right?
Jazakallah khair.
وإياكم. All right, should we do سجود التلاوة now? Oh, I actually have to go to an appointment, so I will be inshallah pausing right here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت. Next week inshallah we'll be doing سجود التلاوة, even though I prepared it, but we'll do سجود التلاوة inshallah, and we will also do just a general salat al-tatawwu al-mutlaq, basically qiyam al-layl and so forth. So stay tuned. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. But for tomorrow, we'll do tafsir. So be there for tafsir. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
الله. يسر أمورك.
وعليكم السلام.
آمين يا رب. الله يبارك فيكم.
في أمان الله.